Hello again, everyone. So I'm going to go over the setting up of the document for the type specimen book in InDesign. So again, it's going to be a 5x5 book, 12 pages. And then this is the structure of the book, how you're going to lay it out in InDesign. You know, it's not set in stone how many pages you have to include for each of those, but you are going to be doing a 12-page book. And those are the things that you're going to need to include in that book based on that example of mine that I showed you here. So mine was a 12-page book, and I set it up based on that layout or that setting that I provided you there as well. So kind of follow the way I've done mine. It doesn't need to look like that. I want you to come up with your own design for it. But these are just the things that I thought were important that needed to be included and how I wanted to design it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over to InDesign and I'm going to set up the document. So you're going to do new file. You're going to click on the print tab here in InDesign. And then the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you change the units here to inches. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do. If you don't change it to inches and you put in 5x5, you're going to have a really, really tiny document. Okay, so that's very important. First thing to do is to change your units here to inches. And then you're going to do 5 inches by 5 inches. So it's going to be a square book. We're going to do 12 pages. Okay. And then I'm going to go back into the Canvas assignment page and adjust this. But you're going to do 3 columns. Now, again, in InDesign, columns just mean that the page is divided into equal increments based on the size of the document. You do not need to stuff everything in one column or the next. Okay, so the stuff can go across 3 columns, 2 columns, but it's just a grid system that you're going to set up to align things. So we're going to do 3 columns. And our margins are going to be 0.25. Okay, so when you type in the number in the first tab or the first field, as long as this little lock here is connected and you type in a number in that first one and you press your tab key, that will populate the rest of those fields with that number. Okay, so as long as this little lock chain is connected, then all of those settings will be the same. And we're not going to worry about a bleed for this. Bleed is when you extend an image or a background past the edge of the document so that when it's trimmed, when the document is trimmed, there's nothing that gets cut off. There's no white space around the edge of the paper. Okay, so think of like a magazine cover. The image goes all the way to the edge. So we're not going to worry about the bleed on this one. So you're going to do 5x5. Make sure this is set to inches. 12 pages, 3 columns, and 1/4 inch margins. And again, I'm going to update this over in the assignment page as well. Okay, then I'm going to click create. And this is how the document is going to look. You're going to see all 12 pages. Okay, so this would be your cover. And then page 12 would be your back cover. So remember, the front and back cover need to be cohesive. So however you're going to design that, whether it's a color that goes from the front to the back, but it should be a cohesive design like the example that I showed you. Okay. So this is the basic setup of the document that you're going to do. Okay. Excuse me. So the type tool, you need to click and drag and create a text frame, and then you can include your text in here. Type your text. That's going to be your history, anything that you're going to include in this document. We're not using any photographs or any illustrations. You're creating everything with type or shapes here in InDesign. Okay. So if you want to draw a rectangle or a circle, you're going to use these tools here. So rectangle, ellipse, or polygon. And then you also have in here in InDesign, you have a pen tool that you can draw freeform elements if you want to, but you're creating everything here in InDesign. You're not going to bring in anything. It's all going to be type-based, text-based, typography-based, based on letters, based on the font that you're using. Okay. So you can, again, like I said, draw with your pen tool if you want to draw shapes. Okay. Or you can use your shape tools, rectangle, ellipse, or the polygon, or you can draw shapes with with the pen tool. Okay. So you're going to be using your character panel. So you're going to be using your character panel. You can either use it here on the properties panel, or you can go under the window menu, type and tables, and bring up your character panel. So if you want that separately here to work with, and not necessarily in the properties panel, you can have your character panel here. And you're also going to work with your paragraph panel. When you need to center something, center a paragraph, you're not going to use, or center text, you're not going to use your space bar to center the text. You're going to use your center alignment option, because if you use your space bar to center something, it will change depending on your the font that you're using, or the size of your text frame. If you decide that you're going to change the font size and you've used your space bar to center something, it's not going to be centered again because you changed settings on your font. Okay. So this is where you're going to find your font. So you're going to, whatever font you choose, you're going to activate it from the Adobe site. And I'm going to go back, go to show you that here in just a second. How to install it or load it into your subscription or your account. And again, if for your subscription that you have, if the font's not available to you, let me know, and I will download it and upload it to the Canvas, the assignment page, the font choice, for you to be able to access it. Okay. Okay, so this is where you're going to change the font size, the leading, the space between the lines of text. This is your kerning, the space between individual letters. This is your tracking. So that's the space between all of the letters combined versus individual letters. So if you want to move like two letters closer to each other, just two letters, you're going to use your kerning. And then the tracking will extend your all the letters apart. Okay. Okay. So that's the character palette panel, just briefly. Under the type menu, there is an option called glyphs. These are the special characters or different characters. You can find different characters associated with that particular font, but it also shows you what the font looks like. Each of the letters look like. And then I mentioned the ligatures option. That, again, I said is when two letters are real close to each other. So like the F and the H. Let me see if I can bring this up so you can see it a little bit bigger. So your F and the K, it depends on, it's usually these certain letters, but it's any letter that has some kind of overhang to it, like the F does. Not sure if there's any other letters that do that. But then you also have the letters here that you can see that have different accent marks depending on the language. So you may want to use some of these in your design as well, because they're unique looking letters. And then as you go down, the Greek letters, quite a bit for this particular font. Some fonts don't have all this stuff, but these are just unique characters that are associated with that font that you may want to include in your design. And then you have these are also glyphs here, little accent marks or little icons or something that kind of go with that font that you maybe want to include in your design as well. Okay, so not every font has those, but then you have, other different symbols here that you may want to include in there. But the glyph panel under the type menu, glyphs will show you all of these different things associated with that particular font. Okay, so again, the glyph panel will show you what the font looks like, different aspects of the font. So that's under the type menu, type glyphs. You can also access the character palette from there, character panel, paragraph panel from there as well. So again, the glyphs will show you the font and any like special, the way the each letter looks, special characters based on the font. I mean, not the font, but the language that's used. And then any little symbols or anything that go with with that font. Okay. And then as you change the font here, you can see how it changes. So you have the little font menu down here at the bottom, and you can see what the fonts look like. Each font looks like, each letter looks like. And then you have a little zoom in and zoom out here where you can zoom in and get in a little bit closer on each of the letters to inspect them a little bit better. Okay. So that's the glyphs. And then again, just briefly, the ligatures that I mentioned, that's when the two letters are next to each other, usually like F's and I's. Not every font, let me see here. Not every font has one. This particular font doesn't have ligatures. So again, not every font has one, but it's the font when they are, let me go back to that font that I had. Period. Myriad, where are you? There it is. Okay, so this one has ligatures. But again, it's the two letters like this right here, the two letters that connect to each other. So usually the F and the I, F and the J, anything that has an overhang that's real close to each other, that's what a ligature mark is. Okay. All right, so let me close those. Oops. That. Okay. All right, so again, that's the setup of the document. You're going to use your type tool to create your text frame. And then if you want to create any little symbols like I did, like I made the bird. Like I made the little bird here, I made the little person. Those are all made up with letters, punctuation marks, anything associated with the font itself. Okay, so let me go to the Adobe fonts.adobe.com. Okay, so once you have selected the font that you are going to use for the assignment, let me go back here. Would have been faster for me to go this way. Sorry. So font selection, here it is. Okay, so once you're going to look on this page and you can go through and search for each of these fonts and look at the different fonts and see which one you want to pick. So I'm just going to select this one here, copy that one, come over here to the Adobe fonts, paste it here in the search. And when you put it in the search term, it's going to bring up the page about that font. So it's going to show you some examples of how it's used. It's going to show you all of the different styles associated with that font. Okay. You can type a sentence here and it'll show you what the font looks like with that sentence. And then you can also increase the size of the text to see how it looks at 12 point, which would be body type, body size, body text, or headlines. And then there's a tab here that says about, that'll take you down to when it was created. Now, some of these fonts were created, this particular one was created in the 1700s. But there's also if there's any updated information about that particular font, because it was originally, like in this case, it was originally designed in 1722, but then it was redone again in later on. So you may want to talk about that designer as well that redesigned it or changed it up. So it'll have a type designer there, some other information, but you can do, so if I wanted to do some more research on this one, so Adobe, this one, do another tab, and then search for that. It'll come up with the Adobe font. It'll come up with all these other websites, fonts in use, how it's been used, different places that it's been used at. Some more information here, related fonts, but any information that you can find about it, and then also anything that is during that time period when it was created. Okay. So back over here to the Adobe site, you're going to, when you add, I gotta sign in, sorry, let me sign in here. So you want to make sure that you're signed into your Adobe account. Sign in. So yeah, you have to make sure that you're signed into your Adobe account. And when you sign in, hold on. Mine says remove because I already have it installed on my computer or in my subscription. But if it says add family or add font, you're going to click on that. And then it's going to add it to your subscription, to your license. Okay. So again, if you're not able to add that particular font, if it doesn't allow you to add it, let me know and I will download it for you and then put it up on the font selection page, and then you can download it from there and install it. But by adding it through your subscription, it's automatically available on your computer to use in any of the programs. And if you move from computer to computer, say you're taking this class and then you're taking a class on campus, you also have access to that font based on your subscription or your login to the Adobe products. Okay. So that's how you add the font. So let me just go back and grab another font, different font that I don't have. So as long as you see where it says add family, when you see that, then you're going to add that to your computer. And then once you click on that, so let me just do that one here, add family. It's going to tell you down here at the bottom, the fonts are available in your Adobe apps and you manage them in the Creative Cloud app. But once it says, once that changes from once the remove is active, because it takes a few minutes for it to activate, at least on my computer it does. It takes a few minutes for it to activate. But as long as it says remove, then it's going to be installed on with your library, and then you can use it in any of the programs from that point. Okay. Okay. So again, it has the original designer here, but there may be, some newer version, another designer or person that updated the font. So you'll find out when you're doing your research on that particular font. So let me just do, for example, do this one, and I type that in here. So it'll usually give you the font, the Adobe font site first, and then it will give you other websites about that font. And then if you just want to add the word history in there as a search term, it will come up with Wikipedia, different places where the font, where there's information about that font, and then also information about the designer as well. Okay, and then you're going to look for things that happened in the year that it was designed. So 1915 or 1915. So that's the year that it was created. Then you're going to type in what happened in 1915. And then it'll come up with different events that happened during that time. So you're going to find 5 events that happened that time. And then popular songs, 1915. So these are the popular songs, popular movies during that time. Okay, so 1915 in film, that was early films. And then maybe popular quotes from that time. Okay. Or popular poems. So anything that you can think of about that time period to include in there. Okay. Again, let me go back over here. So like I said, with mine, I have the history. And then these were 4 things that happened in those years, those different years. And then I, expanded on it based on how it was used, what the usage was. So what was the font that I used here? So instead of history, do usage. And then it will show you, where it's been used, how it's been used, fonts that it's been combined with. Okay, so you can kind of get an idea of the things that it was used for. Okay, and then this gives you some more information. Designers, foundries. The foundries are the ones that have used that font or manipulated that font in some way. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to talk to you about in InDesign here? I think that's it pretty much. So you're just basically going to be using the type tool in InDesign, any of the shape tools, the pen tool. You're not going to include any images, no photos, no illustrations. Anything that you're going to create is going to be created with type, with the fonts, with the letters to create your layout. So and then colors, maybe select some colors that were used that were popular during that time with designers or art styles or whatever information you come across while you're doing your research. And then if you also want to look up color schemes, so it's color.adobe.com. And then you can do explore. So 1915, let's see what comes up with 1915. Or maybe what other term could we use? Western, because my font was more used for Westerns. So there's color schemes for Westerns. Or if you're just looking for color schemes in general for any project, so you can do summer. Then it comes up with color schemes. And you can download this as a JPEG and then bring that place that into InDesign and use your eyedropper. Let me do this here. Save that. Come over here to InDesign and then place that. I place it over here on the pasteboard. Then I can use my eyedropper and pick those colors. And now it's over here in my fill panel. You also have the color scheme, color theme tool here. If you use that one, that will pick up all those colors that are in that picture. And you can add this theme here, add that theme to your swatches. And then when you go to your swatches panel, that color theme is right there. And those are the colors that are here. So then you'll have them in the document to use instead of going and creating those colors each time. Okay, so that was the color theme tool here. Or if you just want to select one of the colors, just use your eyedropper. And then that'll put that over here in your swatches. And then you can do new color swatch and change it to CMYK. and then add that in there. And now you have that color swatch in the document that you can use in this document for wherever you want to use it. Okay. All right, so let me go back here just to recap on the assignment. You are going to select a font from this list. And then you're going to tell me which font that you're using. And if based on your subscription, if you can't install or add that font to your subscription, to your account, let me know and I will download it for you and put it up here for you to install on your computer. So you're going to select your font. Once you've selected your font, then you're going to conduct research on that font. So you're going to look up the history, the purpose, the designer, any other characteristics of that font. And then you're going to answer these questions here. So look up notable events from that year that it was created, any popular songs, quotes, movie quotes, literature, anything from that time period. What was the graphic design style during that time? What are the designers during that time? And any other research that you come across from either that time period or the font itself. And then you're going to submit this information to this assignment page. And then this again is an example of the research based on Helvetica. The objectives. And then this is setting up the document. So it's a 5-inch by 5-inch page, a 12-page document in InDesign. And these are the things that you're going to include on that, in that booklet on each of those pages. And then refer to my example here that I created of how I set mine up. I don't want you to follow this layout. It's whatever kind of layout you want to come up with. You also want to examine these examples here that I've included for layouts. You can also do a search for type specimen books examples. And there's all kinds of different examples here of how the pages are laid out. Okay. So all kinds of different examples. Okay. So you are going to, before you start designing anything in InDesign, you are going to create thumbnails. So I want you to do a minimum of 3 thumbnail sketches for each page. Now, again, those are just quick layouts, how you're going to put stuff on the page, where you're going to put things, how you're going to arrange them. You're not stuck with that once you're, doing your thumbnails. That's just a guide for you of how you're going to do things, where you're going to place things. And then before you start doing anything actually in InDesign. Okay. So you're going to include those things on each of those pages, front and back cover. And then you're going to save the InDesign document with your first and last name, type specimen. You're going to export the final booklet as a press quality PDF. Let me go back over here to InDesign. So you can file export. You're going to change this to make sure it says Adobe PDF print. And then your option here is press quality. So press quality, and then you're going to export that, and then you're going to upload that to the assignment page with the InDesign document as well, so I can see how you laid things out with that. Okay. So you have 2 weeks to work on this. This will be due on the 16th. Again, if you are struggling with it, reach out to me. I will answer any questions you have. If I need to, record another video, I will do that as well. I can meet with you one-on-one if you need to. To go over anything. But if it gets close to the 16th and you're still not completely done with it, please submit what you have completed so far so that I know that you're working on it. If you want to submit something to me prior to that time, so I can, have me look at it to make sure that you're, working on it, what you're doing is correct. You can do that as well. You can send me a screenshot, anything, just so that I can help you get this completed. Okay, so you have 2 weeks to complete this. And then, yeah. So if there's any questions, concerns, or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you.